ABC 2 News investigation back in November uncovered scary violations in a surprising place. The places you leave your children for care while you're at work.
In the wake of that story, we've uncovered new, stunning violations and developed a tool to help you check the places that you trust with your children.
All right, ABC 2 News investigator Josie Sturman is here to explain it all to us.
After the shooting in Newtown, safety is on every parent's mind. Local schools have made it clear they're making changes to protect kids, but daycare facilities may also need to step it up, considering we discovered 599 violations related to emergency safety plans. We found that, as well as potential hazards, unclean facilities, even abuse, listed in inspections for Baltimore area daycares. And we'll show you how to see them as well. We put the tiniest people in their hands and ask them to bring out the biggest smiles. Leaving our children in someone else's care is a reality for many working families, and it's a daily act of trust.
Their safety is of the utmost importance.
The safety of your little one is a task handled by more than 10,000 child care facilities in Maryland, but some of them are falling down on the job. Their centers cited for everything from leaving potential hazards out in the open to unsecured facilities, even subjecting kids to abuse and injuries. It's not a secret, but many parents still don't know.
The sad part about daycares is that you honestly don't really hear anything unless it's something tragic.
But Baltimore County's Robin Murphy doesn't want to wait for bad news as she searches for care for her 19-month-old. As a mom trying to juggle life with her energetic toddler Jess and a work-at-home job, she wants information now about how facilities fare when parents aren't watching.
I think it's your children. I think I need to know.
We know what's happening behind closed doors after pulling violations from nearly 7,000 inspections done at child care facilities in Baltimore City and 4 surrounding counties in the last 18 months. ABC 2 News investigators got them from the Maryland Department of Education's Office of Child Care, which sends inspectors in to make sure providers are meeting dozens of regulations that oversee everything from training to how kids are monitored when they sleep. What they find might surprise you. Within those reports, ABC 2 News found facilities written up 762 times for the storage and accessibility of potentially hazardous items. Things like sharp objects, cleaners, even alcohol. 496 inspections turned up general cleanliness violations. We also discovered 125 child supervision issues, 43 violations for security, and even 14 facilities listed as non-compliant because inspectors didn't find a lead-safe environment.
When they look at that, it's a snapshot in time.
A snapshot 103 licensing specialists capture across the state. They work for Liz Kelly, the director of the state's Office of Child Care. Under her watch, the information those people find was brought to the public eye. It's now available online, in part, through Check Child Care Maryland. Look up any daycare in the state and you'll see when they were inspected last and whether they broke any rules on their required yearly inspections.
There would certainly be some that would be considered of higher importance. Certainly anything having to do with child protection.
In that vein, specialists look for cases of abuse, neglect, or injury. They rarely happen. In the nearly 7,000 records ABC 2 News examined, only 2 cases pop up in the last 18 months. In Baltimore County, this daycare in Randallstown was cited in June 2011 after a state report says the caregiver told a young boy he couldn't have snack because of his behavior. The owner didn't respond to calls and emails for comment. Told us she didn't want to comment. She was cited in April 2011 after a report says she hit an 8-year-old child on the arm and her husband called him a gay derogatory term because he was crying. Those are clear-cut violations for the state, but some believe other citations have shades of gray.
I think it all depends on that inspector's interpretation of that violation.
Richard Huffman owns Celebrate, the largest private provider of preschool in Maryland. He says his company not only meets state standards, it exceeds them. But within his 20 centers, he says even they get a check in the box every now and then. The state's online system could leave parents, though, thinking the violations are far worse than they seem because you don't get details. So Richard says a drop of jelly on the floor or a napkin by the trash can gets labeled as an overall cleanliness issue.
And they're leaving it up to that parent to actually then investigate further of it. And as we know, most parents won't dig that deep.
Huffman and some others are glad parents have more information to make decisions, but they think the state should post more detail with its child care inspection reports so you get the whole story. As a guy who runs daycares, do you think sometimes that maybe that information shouldn't be made public until it can be complete?
100%. But the ball's rolling, it's out there.
But the state says some information has to stay off the web, in part because the detailed reports contain confidential information like children's names. And it's partly a legal problem. That's why, even though you can see whether a daycare has violations for keeping its records up to date or approved lighting, centers that are actively going through serious discipline, like a suspension or a revocation, simply aren't posted in public view.
Until that action is completed, there's very little information that we can provide because it would be part of a legal process.
Kelly says the state doesn't have to go through that process often. Since the start of 2011, they've revoked just 185 licenses out of thousands of facilities.
I suppose I'm somewhat biased, but because we have such strong regulations, the majority of our providers are excellent.
Cookie? No?
That's exactly what moms like Robin Murphy want to hear. She continues to search and juggle the demands of being a work-at-home mom, although she says she still hasn't found the perfect place for Jess to start her education. We know all that from scouring through state records, and we've developed an online tool to let you see them too, so you can check your child's facility. Just go to abc2news.com/daycare. That's going to get you on this landing page where you can read about the different kinds of facilities, get definitions for the violations, even get the latest child care news. But the important section is right here, these 3 categories of daycare. We're going to click into child care centers. Those are the larger establishments that deal with child care. You can find out definitions here. You can even see an interactive way to look at all the different kinds of violations that we saw popping up in these different inspections. Down at the bottom, what you see here are the different categories of violations. If you click them, what you're going to find is all the facilities that had this citation listed, in this case, director training. If you click on it, you'll find out more information about the facilities itself, and you'll also find out any other violations they had during their latest inspection. Now, you're going to find all of that on our website. It's a special section, abc2news.com/daycare. Josie Sturman, ABC 2 News Investigators.